Hi, my name is Veni, a PACFA clinical registrant. I just wanted to talk a little bit about emotions in a clinical setting, or emotions when we engage with our clients, that we would expect one way or another different types of emotions to be expressed differently by different clients. As a therapist, when we work in the field, one thing that we have to be aware of, and self-awareness is very important, that emotions will be portrayed, emotions will be expressed, and emotions will be articulated differently by different clients. And we have to honor and we have to create that space to ensure it is safe for our client to express freely what is it that they want to express in a clinical setting. However, we can only draw these expressions from a client when we ensure that the information is confidential, that we ensure that the space is safe enough for them to express what they need to express. But also, they will much more be in a better position to honor and respect the space, considering that we approach the clinical engagement in a non-judgmental, respectful manner. And these emotions is somewhat very important, that we hold that space and we sit with these emotions with our client and honor the emotions in a given way that is contextualized based on the client's perspective, based on the client's expressions, and based on the client's worldview. And having said that, emotional resources is somewhat we as a therapist we need to be mindful of how emotions will be portrayed in a clinical setting and how it will shift the dynamics and bring about change in the clinical settings. Yeah. So having said that, as a practitioner, as a student going into the field of counseling and psychotherapy, one of the important factors that we have to be mindful of, irrespective of the client that we will be working with, that we have to be mindful that these emotions will be expressed differently. And we have to be mindful of our own emotions as well, and how we work with our own emotions before we come into the space of counseling and psychotherapy, and honoring that when we engage with our client. So set aside our own emotions, set aside our own personal biases, honor the space, engage with the client in an awareness that we are creating safe, and we are creating a space that the client feels that they belong and they're being respected. Yeah. So one thing that we have to be mindful of is the emotions that will be conveyed in the clinical settings and how we can manage that accordingly. Yeah. So please bear that in mind, irrespective of the client that we'll encounter. One way or another, we have to work through those emotions and we have to deal with it constructively, and we have to bear in mind that the emotion is expressed based on what the client is experiencing in their given context. And please don't think, don't take it personally, don't think that we've done something wrong, but be aware that these are emotions that has been sitting there quite some time for our client. Hence, the way that they express it will be displayed differently in a clinical setting. But we are in a position to work with them in a person-centered approach, and also try and help them understand how these emotions are impacting them and how we can work collaboratively in a much more meaningful manner. I hope this video will bring some sort of enlightenment into your studies or into your clinical settings, into your practice as you journey along. Thank you for listening.